What is up, guys? I hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're covering r/IDontWorkHereLady. As always, support the artists. Without them, our channel wouldn't be half as interesting. Their information is in the description below. If you're new here, we're a community-based narration channel, and if you enjoy the content, why not consider liking, subscribing, and maybe tickling that notification bell. And with that being said, let's get into today's stories. Much love, guys. Our first story is from A New Slug, 1710. Person mistakes me for a doctor. First post I ever made to this sub, and on mobile. Hope formatting is okay. Took place about 10 minutes ago. I'm in a hospital where a mother is in her own bed, in a side room to the main ward she is on, and a doctor comes in to address an issue she's having. My dad asked me to wait outside for a few minutes while the doctor and nurse were with my mother, sorting her issue out as best as they can. I step out into the hallway, and I'm waiting there for about 5 minutes, stood next to the nurse's station leaning by her door. I'm in no way looking like a doctor. I'm 21 and don't look older than it really. Wearing a black and grey jumper and black jeans. I'm also on my phone. Cast me, N nurse, CL confused lady. A woman in her 60s walks through the door onto the ward and looks around not seeing anyone and starts walking around. About 3 to 4 minutes later she's walking back this way when a nurse I recognise from a previous visit in this week sees me. Nurse says, "Oh hey, what are you doing?" I say, "A nurse is just checking a nephrostomy." Hope I got that right, because some fluid is leaking out and checking out some vaginal bleeding. Shouldn't be much longer. Nurse says, "Oh well, okay, can I squeeze by?" She's pushing a cart with some medical gear on it. I don't know what. Damn it, I'm an animation student, not a doctor. I open the door next to me as she gets the other and pushes her cart forward. I'm a bit thirsty, so I go grab a cup of water from the water dispenser next to the nurse's desk, and the woman approaches me. The confused lady says, "Excuse me, where is person X?" I say, "Oh, I don't know. One of the ward nurses will be by in a minute. They're a bit understaffed today." She says, "Well, why can't you help me?" I say, "I don't know who person X is." She says, "Well, shouldn't you know if you're a doctor here?" I chuckled a little, then pulled my jumper up to show a t-shirt with a picture of the Brooklyn Bridge on it. I say, not quite, just visiting my mum." She says, "Oh, but well, you're talking about things with the nurse." She trailed off confused. She wasn't rude or anything, but just confused. I say, "Well, maybe I can help you out. They could be a few minutes." I already checked everywhere. I say, "Have you checked around the corner there? There is a bunch of beds there." I point to 2 closed doors, and she said no. I walked with her to check it out, but it turned out she got the name of the ward she was looking for wrong. I meant to go elsewhere in the hospital, so I walked with her there. She had been looking for her daughter-in-law and son. Nothing dramatic, but I'm bored waiting for a doctor and nurse to finish up with my mum, so thought I'd share. Edit. Hopefully better formatting, still on mobile device. Just thanks for reading and giving the well wishes. It's been a pretty rotten year, and a little bit of positivity for such a basic interaction is just a really nice end to the year and start of a new decade. Hope everyone enjoys 2020s. And you too, hope you enjoy it, and I hope your mum recovers just well. I hate being in hospitals, especially after the last couple of years I've had. It's like, I'm just there all the time just lately, you know. It's like totally sick of it, so I can totally get where you're coming from. And just doing something a little nice for someone who's just a bit confused is a good thing, so God bless you. Our next story is from Gun Bunny CB. Target sucks. Today I walk into Target, I'm wearing blue jeans, a grey hoodie and a ball cap. I'm in the sporting goods aisle looking for 4 Coleman ponchos for a football game tomorrow. I'm wanting all the same colour, so I pull several off and pick the ones I want out. As I'm standing there holding the several I pulled off in one hand and replacing them, a cow of a woman walks around the corner, looks at me and the ponchos, and I guess decides I work there. She tells me that I need to come a couple of aisles over and get something down for her. I tell her she needs to find someone who works here as I'm putting the last of the ponchos back. Admittedly, I have a pretty harsh voice and a no-nonsense tone about me. I may have left the army, but the army hasn't left me yet. The rest of the conversation went a lot like this. "You don't," she says. "Nope, just cleaning up my mess," I reply. "Well, you just restock the shelf, you work here. If you won't help me, you need to call someone who can." Her tone is getting really shitty with me. "Lady, the only thing I'm going to do is pay for these, then leave." Then she goes to full trailer trash Karen mode. "That's fine, I'll just find out who you work for here and let them know how you're treating people. After I have a chat, you'll be lucky to be serving fries at your next job." "What do you have to say for yourself now?" The next thing out of my mouth was, "Fuck off, you old bitch," and I walked towards the front. There may or may not have been something said about her hygiene, her weight, a wet spot, and a sack of flour, loudly, and maybe rated PG-17. When I get to the registers, there's a young girl at the front, directing people to the next register. She points me to a register, and I go there, waiting my turn. As I'm paying and finishing up, I notice the cow is baying away at the poor girl at the front, pointing at me the whole time. Kinda wish I could have heard that conversation. But yeah, Target sucks. At least today it did. I never understand those people who get crappy with people who work in stores. I was mistaken for someone in the store once, because one of my jobs is a really weird job. I had to go to like supermarkets for market research, and I had to go to supermarkets and write down batch codes on numbers of products and things and how they rotate their stock and things. And someone mistaked me for an employee there, and they wouldn't leave me alone no matter how many times I said I don't work there. And eventually she just huffed at me and said, "Well, I know you do," and walked off. And I was like, what? Some crazy people out there, man. Our next story is from Mr. Engineat. A warning. Sharing these events publicly could get me in trouble, so just to be sure, I will not specify a country I'm from. I'll just say that it's not an English speaking area, so pardon me if my dialogue translations don't exactly feel the most natural. I'm currently a 33-year-old private investigator, but I was also a police officer for 12 years. During that time, I've seen my fair share of general human garbagery, things escalating completely out of initial proportions, and I got pretty used to it. What happened to me recently, however, still gets me absolutely fuming. For the story, it's also too important to note that with a shaved beard, short hair and a cap I often wear to hide the fact that my hair is starting to abandon me. I've had people ask me for ID when buying beer, so it's safe to say I look 20-ish at the most. The first part of the story is an encounter of minor annoyance. The second, well, we'll get there. I was on a shopping trip in a nearby store, just getting some basic stuff like food, toilet paper, etc. So I was moving all around the store. I wasn't really paying attention to other customers, but eventually grew suspicious of a lady who just happened to follow me wherever I went. I wasn't sure if it's a job-related paranoia or not, so I went to get something at one place, then went completely opposite side of the store, then right back to the first spot. Sure enough, lady repeated my route a few meters behind. I turned back to her and asked, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you want something from me?" Lady said, "Well, finally. Get me," and she starts listing some products, reading from a piece of paper. Me interrupting her after quickly realising she took me for a store worker. No idea why. "Oh, I don't work here, but if you say the magic word, I can help you get the items." I smile a bit at her as she's older than me, maybe about 50, and I'm in no rush, so I don't mind helping her. But please was definitely not what she's going to say. She said, "How dare you trying to school me, kid? My manners are just fine. I was a teacher. What does it even have to do with? You're not going to talk to me like this. And of course you work here, kid. Ginger pants. Like you, only work in stores like this. Now move your ass and get my things already." I was always looking with a bit of disbelief at these. I was shocked. I didn't say anything parts in these stories. I always assumed I'd be the first to lash back at these people, but nope. I just froze as my brain cells seemed to stop working for a moment. I said, "Excuse me? What?" She said, "Are you deaf? All the kids in this store are so disrespectful, unlike elders apparently. Here," shoves a list into my hand. "Get me these things right now. You have 5 minutes or I get your ass fired. I know the owner." I presume she meant the manager, since it's a global supermarket. "He was my student. He's going to get rid of you right away when I tell him how disrespectful and lazy you are. 5 minutes. Tick-tock." I'm just standing there with my IQ level currently alongside my jaw on the floor. I'm slowly coming back to my senses as she keeps berating me with random insults. I say, "Lady, stop, calm down." I almost scream eventually. I've been practicing shutting people out for years with a proper tone, so she looks at me pissed, but stops talking. "I do not work here. Even if I did, I wouldn't have to do anything for you. It's a self-service store. I was about to help you anyway, but the way you acted towards me changed my mind. Also, I'm not a kid, and I couldn't care less about your past career choices. Leave me alone." I turn back and start to head to the cashier, think I'm going to get the rest of my stuff another time, but she grabs me by my shirt and tries to pull me back to her. I didn't feel that initially and kept moving, so the shirt, of a poor quality as it was, got ripped. She literally just assaulted me and destroyed my property. I turned to her yet again, clearly furious and towering over her, so one would think that's where she stopped acting like a bitch. No, nothing more wrong. She now starts screaming at me, but at this point I was too annoyed to pay attention to what she was even saying. I grabbed her by her arm, asked one of the now present spectators that I kind of knew to go and get the manager, and waited until he came. Manager, who clearly didn't know the old lady by the way, after seeing me holding her, screaming, with my shirt in pieces, "What in seven hells is going on here?" Me, over old lady screeching, "I'm going to call the police right now. They will need to see the footage of this very spot about 2 minutes ago. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but could you please prepare it? I think it's clear why." I point at my torn shirt. The manager asked me to let go of the old lady, so I did. Maybe a second passed as she jumps in the way trying to flee. I grab her right back and lead her to the manager's office. For those wondering, where I'm from it's called civic detention. I'm allowed to physically hold her until the police arrival if she committed a crime I witnessed or was a victim of. Now, as I said, that particular piece of clothing wasn't expensive at all, so I had no intention of actually pressing charges. Not that it's even much of a thing here. But I did want to scare her a bit to teach her, ironically, a lesson. I pretended to call the police and just sat there, listened to her scream slowly turn into crying. I said, "Was it worth it?" The lady threw teachers. "Please just let me go. Let me go, please. Please just let me go." I can see she's in a bit of panic, so despite the fact that I've not learnt to trust her tears in these kinds of scenarios, I decided it's enough. I say, "I'm going to call them off you, but you have to pay for my shirt right now." She doesn't say a word. She just opens her purse, takes her wallet out, puts equivalent of $5 in my hand, about the cost of the shirt, so fair enough, and leaves. No apology, no thank you, just gets out and leaves the store. Not as satisfying as I hoped for, but at this point, I was sure she did learn her lesson. I chat a bit with the manager, who is actually my friend, laugh at her a little, and then finish my shopping. I walk around with a torn shirt like the Hulk who just got back as human form, with a slightly better mood. But this did not last long. Cue part 2. I get out of the store and immediately notice the old lady hiding in a nearby bush, clearly looking at me. Yet again, I'm stunned. What the hell? I'm starting to head home and feel her following me, apparently assuming I didn't see her. Now keep in mind that what she is doing right now is literally my job, or at least part of it. As a person who knows how to and how not to follow someone, I can tell you she did very much the latter. I eventually get to my home, more amused than scared by what she's doing, get through the gate that we never lock. That's a couple of meters away from my door. Get to the door and turn around. She's hiding behind the hedge, right next to the gate, clearly visible. I was wondering if she's going to do something, and she might actually be crazy and dangerous, but eventually I assume she's probably just mad and embarrassed, and once she cools down, she's going to go home and leave me alone. Throughout my work as an officer, I learnt usually the best ways of dealing with hissy fits is just ignoring them. So I open my household doors, about to get inside when I hear the gate creaking. Yet again, I turn around and see her slipping inside my backyard. Kinda jumping to the side as I'm turning. A huge branch in her hand. As absurd and as hilarious as the situation was, it also just hit my spidey senses. I was about to get back and just grab her, this time intending to actually call the police, as I was standing in an open door. Something just rushed outside near my leg before I realised it was our friend's dog. He ran to the lady to say hello and got hit with a stick right in the head. The dog just fell without even a squeal. This bitch crushed the poor dog's skull, we've been told later. The criminal case is pending, which is why I technically shouldn't write it here, but I just had to pour my anger somewhere. Anger at her. Turns out she's not mentally ill. It was just indeed escalated hissy fit and the panic as the dog was running at her, and at myself, for not reacting correctly in a potentially dangerous situation, something that I was schooling others on for years. My friends don't blame me for the death of their doggy, but I do. And to think that it all started with, "I don't work here, lady," is a warning for anybody reading this that you shouldn't downplay a threat for someone going mad. This world is full of idiots, and many of them are legitimately dangerous. Wish you all better luck with them. Holy crap, that went from 0 to 100 right at the end. But there's I gotta say, because like I was reading the comments on this one afterwards, because I thought, wow, a private investigator leading someone back to their house, does that sound legit? But either way, it's an entertaining story, so I'd love to know your thoughts on that story. Do you think that one was real or not? Because that is like a crazy situation. But, you know, from reading these stories in the past, you never know what's out there these days. So let me know your thoughts on that story, and if you found it entertaining anyway. And that is it for today's stories, guys. As always, thank you for being here. If you did enjoy the stories, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe button, and maybe that notification bell. I really can't tell you what a difference hitting that like and subscribing and watching these videos really does for this channel. It makes a massive difference, so thank you for your time. It really means the world, and I will see you on the next one. Much love, guys.